guys, today I'm going to be making a step stool. It's a two-step cherry step stool that is going to be pretty much a copy of this one that I have right here, with the exception of the side. Instead of this curve on this side, I'm going to use a curve that looks like this, where it's a little bit more of an arch. So this is actually the template I'm going to use for the curve. So let's go ahead and get started. The sides were made by joining together two pieces of 6-inch wide cherry, and this is where I'll start for the construction. Okay, so here's my board that I'm going to use for the sides in the rough. There's a little bit of sap on each side of the lumber. I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but the heartwood is running down the center of the board, and I have a little bit of sapwood on each side. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to edge joint one side of this board, and I'm going to cut off as much of the sapwood as I can on one side. Then I'm going to flip the board around, put this side against the fence, and cut off another strip of the sapwood. So I'm left with 6 inches for the side of the step stool. Okay, now that I removed most of the sapwood from each side of this board, I'm left with the nice heartwood in the center. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and face joint this face and go ahead and plane it to thickness. It's always a good idea before you face joint to sight down the board and look for any cupping. What you want to do is put the board so that the cup is facing down on the joiner. Okay, now that my side lumber has been face jointed and planed to thickness, I'm going to go ahead and run this over the joiner one last time to get a nice square edge for glue up, because sometimes it is hip to be square. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, the pieces to make up the side are 14 inches and 7 inches long, and they're just glued together with a biscuit in the middle. So we'll head over to the table saw now and we'll batch cut out our side pieces. Okay, so I'm ready to glue up the side pieces. I was going to put a biscuit in between to help aid with alignment, but I'm always afraid that when I go to make the arch that I'm going to cut into the biscuit, and you'll see it if you were to look at the stool from underneath, which probably would never happen. But anyway, so I'm going to leave the biscuit out, and I'm just going to make sure that I have a really good alignment when these two pieces are glued together. So let's glue this up. Okay, while the sides are gluing up, it's time to start working on the rails. There are 4 rails in the step stool, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and they're all the same length and the same width. So what I plan on doing is getting all 4 rails out of the same board. That way I'll have a really nice color match from rail to rail. So let's get started on that now. Okay, so my side pieces have been in the clamps overnight and I've taken them out, and now what I need to do is take my template for the curve and draw the curve onto each side piece, and then I'll take it over to the bandsaw. I'll cut close to the line, and then what I'll do is reattach the template with some double stick tape, and we'll go to the router table and use both a flush trim bit and a pattern bit to finish off the curve. Okay, now we're ready to take our curve all the way to the pattern. And we're going to do that with two different router bits at the router table. The first bit we're going to use is a flush trim bit, which has the bearing in this position. And then we're going to follow that up with a pattern bit, which has the bearing on the bottom position. The reason why we do that is because the grain will change directions as we're routing around the curve. When I start off in the curve all the way over here, the bit is going to follow the grain in the direction of the grain. But when we come over here, we're going to be climb cutting. We're going to be climbing up grain, and this can cause chip out. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the workpiece over and use the bit that has the bearing on the bottom. That way we can start from this direction again with the router bit spinning in this direction. That way we can avoid chip out. Okay, check that out. Not too bad. We got a little bit of router burn right here, but we'll get that with some sandpaper. But the most important thing is we didn't get any chip out, and that's most likely because we used two different router bits. Next time on Garage Woodworks, we form the mortises for our loose tenon joinery, we create our tenon stock, we round over all of our pieces, and finally we glue up our step stool.